Are we all set? Okay. Okay, with that, I will go ahead and call the June 2nd special board meeting to order. And we will start right off with an interim superintendent update. So just as an explanation, the Sherwood School District Board of Directors is tasked with finding an interim superintendent for the 2022-2023 school year. And after receiving and accepting the resignation of Superintendent Heather Cordy, effective July 1, 2022. A qualified candidate, Dr. Jeremy Lyon, has come to the attention of the Sherwood School Board, and he comes highly recommended from multiple sources. So with that, I want to also be clear that the board's adopted standards, criteria, and directives may be found under board policy CBA. Those would have to do with our search. And based on that, this afternoon, the board will interview Dr. Lyons. Following the interview, the board will take a vote to offer Dr. Lyon the interim superintendent position, in addition to authorizing a vote for the board chair to pursue a current contract on behalf of the board. So just want to be clear that this process allows time for the public to watch the interview after this concludes, or watch it live, provide public comment both electronically or in person at our June 8th board meeting, which will be next Wednesday. This is all before taking any official action to fill the superintendent role. So just wanted to be real clear on those steps, because I know this is not our standard meeting, it is a special meeting. So with that, what I'd like to do is just kind of go around and introduce ourselves. So I am Sue Hecker, I'm the board chair for the Sherwood School District Board. Krista? Want to introduce yourself?
I'm Krista Thorne. I'm a director. We're for the Sherwood School District Board. Nice to meet you.
Jessica?
Thanks, Sue. Dr. Lyon, hi, I'm Jessica Adamson. I'm one of the members of the Sherwood School Board.
Hi, Jessica.
Abby?
Hi there, nice to meet you. I'm Abby Hawkins. I'm the vice chair of our school board.
Nice to meet you.
Duncan?
Hello, Jeremy. I'm Duncan Dangoro, and I'm a director on the school board.
Hi, Duncan.
And last, but certainly not least, probably the most important person on here that keeps us all going. I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Christine.
Hi, Dr. White. I'm Christine Andrig. I'm the executive assistant to the superintendent and also the board secretary.
Hi, Christine.
Awesome. Okay, so with that, we will move into a couple things. Obviously, we've all had a chance to look at your cover letter, your letter of interest, and your resume and supplementary materials. And clearly you come with a wealth of experience and incredible. So with that, I think our goal is to really focus a little bit on, what being an interim in Sherwood might mean. So our questions are a little bit focused in that direction. That's kind of where we went, as obviously you have amazing strengths and experiences. So we'll go ahead and do that. And obviously at the end, if you have questions of us, we'd be happy to answer. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the questions just so the group can be, listening. So Dr. Lyon, tell us about your familiarity with the Sherwood community and why you're interested in the role of interim superintendent for the Sherwood School District.
Great, thank you. Great to meet all of you. I served as Hillsborough Superintendent 2004 to 2009. And during that period of time, it was a period where the Northwest Regional ESD was going through some turbulence regarding the equity issues of resources with small schools and large school districts. And the colleagues that I was working with at the time included Rob Saxton and Dan Jameson, your former superintendent, both of them, and really extraordinary educators, extraordinary people. And as I was a young superintendent at that time, and I learned so much from them. But the real thing I learned was the power of collaboration. And when you have a group that's working together, as we were very well, it not only was productive, but it was really fun. So through that experience, I learned a lot about the Sherwood School District, a lot about how really extraordinary the district is and was back in that time. And from every aspect that I can see, it's only grown and gotten stronger, and it is just a powerhouse of a school district. I also was on the executive board of OSAA, and that was at the time when we went through that whole thing of expanding 4 classifications to the current system of 6. And in fact, I was serving as president at that time. And so through my work with OSAA, I also had a chance to, kind of focus on the extracurricular activities. And wow, Sherwood just was right at the top in terms of the quality. And one of the benchmarks of being a superintendent is you look at some of those key measures for student success. And not only is participation in extracurricular activities one of those key measures, but also what the community and district do to promote those and stand by those and make sure that they are vibrant and active and open for all children to participate. And Sherwood just does an exceptional job with that. So that's my experience with getting to know the district. Was there the second part of that question about my interest? Yeah, so my interest is, to be really honest with y'all, right now I find myself kind of sitting on the sidelines, and I've got way too much in the tank to continue to sit on the sidelines. And so this opportunity came along, and it was just extraordinary, the timing of it. I know it's been a quick process, but when I left the superintendency after 31 years in education, 15 as a superintendent, with my last stop being, in Frisco ISD, enormous district north of Dallas, now 65,000 students, I had really pivoted to an interest in health and wellness for students and for staff. And here we are coming out the backside of this pandemic with tremendous issues regarding staff and student physical and mental health issues. And I have something to offer there. I have a lot of expertise in that area. I worked with Dr. Kenneth Cooper at the Cooper Institute on children's health and wellness. And then I pivoted to the American Heart Association. So, I look at what's going on, and I'm eager to participate.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. As an interim superintendent, what would your key priorities in the first 90 days of the job be?
Great question. I think one of the most important things that I would certainly like to see is that even though we all understand it's an interim, we really don't have time to view this 2022-2023 school year as interim anything, right? I mean, you can put it as simply as this. This year's seniors, this senior year for them next year is a really important year. For 7th graders, it's the only time they're going to be 7th graders. So in the interim thing, the first thing that I would try to do is let's remove the mindset, regardless of what the future holds, of any kind of holding pattern or temporary or, we'll wait until next year. We don't have time to wait until next year. So with that said, that's kind of the premise of this entire conversation. With that said, I think the most important thing right out of the gate is to meet with each of you as board members, understand what your points of pride are, your concerns, understand what your communication style is, understand the things that you want to see happen in your community this coming year, and then use my position and my talents and skills to meet those goals and outcomes that you want to. The other part of that is just as important, and that is with the senior leadership of the staff of the school district. And the superintendent sits in this position between a school board and the key district leaders within a school district. And the job of a superintendent is in large part to translate what's going on with the school board into what's going on that district leadership team. I know you have remarkable leaders within your district. And I think one of the things that we obviously need to do is look at making sure that we retain all of that top talent. And that I'll say that probably a couple times in this interview, because it's that continuity piece. So working with the board to establish a good team of 5 and team of 6 with the superintendent. Right behind that, obviously, is first up, part and parcel with speaking with the board members, is to review with district staff and the police chief the safety and security protocols within the district. And as superintendent, that would be in part for me, but it also would be a great opportunity to kind of review the whole thing. And if there are any gaps, which I doubt there are any, but if there are, we can address them this summer. And then, of course, we would be in real time next year looking at those safety and security concerns. The tactical part of the first 90 days is really exciting. And this is also where you put the interim aside. You have to create a calendar, and I'm a chronic calendar person. I pore over calendars constantly. And I like that. And so we would create a robust calendar of meet and greets, and that's both external and internal. And we would really put that together with the help of the school board members to check off all of those boxes regarding stakeholder groups and the staff and faculties of our school district. One last thing on that, and that is that the thing that I learned the most in Frisco was the power of a city council, mayor, and city manager on the same page with the school district. And when those two entities, the school district and the city, are self-supporting and always looking out for how we can do things not only better, but how we can leverage opportunities for the betterment of the students and community, that's where you really get to a lot of good stuff.
Thank you. Now this is a little bit redundant now after you've talked about that, but how would you go about preparing for the interim superintendent role?
So, right, the interim role is something where I would, again, really work hard to understand the needs and priorities of the school board members and then bring that within the district. But a lot of it, a whole lot of it is me listening. And to this day, I mean, we've talked about it for decades, the importance of being an active listener. And it's more true today than ever. We have to listen to one another. And that would be a huge role for me to listen to district staff members regarding the pathways that have been created for the incredible district that you have. Listen to board members where you are the eyes and ears of your community and what the needs and wants are there. And then synthesize that into a role as a superintendent where there are positive outcomes and positive things happening. Of course, I think the first thing that internally you look at is not only making sure you're retaining your top talent, but are there critical staffing needs that need to be addressed this summer? And then beyond that, the other factor that I need to do, and I would really energetically pursue that, is to meet with my colleagues in the area and meet with Dan Goldman at the Northwest Regional ESD and get up to speed regarding what the issues are, not only in our area, but statewide. And I've already jumped into a lot of that looking at different documents. So, but I got a lot of studying and listening to do.
Perfect. Okay, and the next question says interim superintendent, but I'm going to take that word out. So as a superintendent, how have you built stability in a district experiencing transition?
Well, I think the issue of stability is a mindset of having a vision of what we want to accomplish, right? So when you talk about What creates instability is shoddy planning. You have a high turnover of key people. You have an event or something happens that kind of jars the system. And you have to have a leadership team framework that allows you to move through that and handle those if indeed they happen. But at the same time, your key leaders and your superintendent needs to do everything they are capable of doing to ensure that those events do not happen that way, and that there is that continuity of vision and where we're going. You know, where it really comes down to is trust and respect and listening to people. The other aspect of stability is you need a good communicator in the superintendent's chair. You need someone who is really actively engaging with internal and external stakeholders, most importantly with parents. And you need a person who can translate the message in a way that people can understand it and that in a way that makes sense to them. And I think that's also a key part of how you build stability within a school district, because, you know, it's as simple as people, and you've got a community full of them because they're winners. Their children go to Sherwood schools. You have people who want to get behind a winner. And that's what the Sherwood School District is. And that's what you need in a leader, is a person who understands that dynamic and pushes that forward consistently and articulately to your community, internal and external.
Thank you. The Sherwood School District believes strong relationships are essential to student outcomes. How would you go about building strong relationships with different stakeholder groups, including the executive team, administrative team, school district associations, obviously the board, the city, the police, and the community, obviously, to name just a few?
Right. I've seen it over the years. Some colleagues, some superintendents even kind of measure it, that you spend, a good superintendent, whatever that means, spends 40% of their time externally working with external stakeholders, 60% internal. I've never put a measurement to it, but I know that different contexts call for different kinds of actions along those lines. And so I think the planful calendaring of meeting with stakeholders, beginning with understanding the desires and goals of the school board, is the place to start that. I think that I would rely very, very much on what each of you as board members see as those priorities, and always be attuned to what those priorities regarding stakeholder groups is, and address those. You know, I was, for instance, the opportunities externally with OSBA and COSA and those kinds of things, that's low priority right now. That's low priority, right? For if I was coming in as your superintendent, I know what those top priorities are. And that's that alignment internally. And we have this great month of July and June to address that before we really get this show going for 22-23. One thing that is a phrase that we use a lot these days, and there's a lot of truth in it, especially when you're talking about the education of children: common ground, common ground, common ground. I think a good superintendent is always able to take the passion of conflict, the passion of something that's happened. Why does that passion exist? Why is it there? Because there's common ground. We care deeply about our children. Sometimes that doesn't come out the best way, and sometimes it comes out flat out wrong or hostile. But that passion is driven because there's something that we really, really care about behind that, and that is a child. And I think that a good superintendent always understands that and sees that and works towards finding that common ground.
Excellent. So accountability, transparency, responsiveness, and trust are priorities in our district. Tell us how you would demonstrate those priorities to the community in regard to student outcomes and parental concerns.
So I thought about that in this way. That's those attributes. It's not something, they're not something you turn on, right? You don't, especially like a person in my situation with, a decade plus of experience in the superintendency. It's either there or it's not there. Either you believe in that transparency, you believe that the stakeholders, the key stakeholders, your parents are a part of your community and a part of your school district, that you want to be inclusive with them. You want to hear what they want for the educational outcomes of their children. So I think those attributes are not something that you turn on and off. I think they're either there or they're not. I would say that is really my style. All the way back to Hillsborough, we started what we call listening sessions. And those listening sessions were intended to get out to the community and hear from them, provide them a steady opportunity to engage with the district. That is just one of lots and lots of different strategies. But that visibility, that accountability is based on a person who is a good listener, basically. And once you have a good listener in place who understands that those are the way that you forge a really strong school district, you're on your way.
Thank you. What is your philosophy on delegating authority?
So I have two ways you can look at that question, right? And the first is that the buck stops with the superintendent. And I think this is why we have borderline crisis in regards to superintendent candidates in this country. I'm sorry, my phone is going off. You have a borderline crisis with superintendents in this country because superintendents are responsible for everything and they control very little. And for a lot of educators, that doesn't sit well with them. That they don't like that. That makes them so uncomfortable. They would rather not do it. And it takes an understanding and an embracing of the fact that, you really are responsible for everything. The buck stops with the superintendent. And that's where we are with that. At the same time, with the delegation thing, is if you don't believe in your people, then you're never going to develop the talent. You're never going to have a high performing district because one person obviously can't do it all. The interesting thing about the superintendent's role with delegating authority is good superintendents by no means are the smartest people in the room when you have senior leadership in the room. You have a curriculum instruction person who is the expert in that area. And the superintendent's role is to learn and understand, guide, be part of that collaborative team, working with the school board as to what those best outcomes are. So superintendents need to absolutely develop that talent internally and reward key leadership positions with the trust and respect that cuts both ways. I have an example of that. And it goes back to the Frisco experience that I had. In the first 4 years that I was Frisco superintendent, we opened 5 schools a year each year. We opened a high school, a middle school, and 3 elementaries every year for 4 consecutive years. That was 5,000 students a year for 4 consecutive years during my tenure there. And essentially, people would characterize it as, well, you're opening a school district every year. And in fact, we were opening a school district. That's an amazing thing. And, we measure years in Frisco in dog years, like 1 year equals 7 years, because this is just insane. We had manuals, we have printed manuals, how to open a middle school, how to open a high school. And the point that I'm trying to make there is think about the team effort that was required to make that happen, to open 21 schools on time, on budget, successfully. It by no means was Dr. Lyon as superintendent. I was a piece of that. It was a great school board, a great community, and a great district staff that were making that happen. That's the dynamic that needs to be created for high-performing school districts.
Wow. So what expectations do you have for your administrative team, and how would you support and assist them in their duties?
I expect loyalty and honesty. Those are two non-negotiables. I also expect competency. That's something that we definitely want to home in on. And that is a two-way street, right? That's a two-way street always. Once you have that bedrock of honesty and loyalty and trust, and you have a relationship, then you stand by those people. You stand by your people. And I have been very fortunate to work with some incredible educators over the years. And, the person that I would put way, way up there is the Hillsborough Superintendent, Mike Scott, just an incredible person. And I'm very proud of the fact that a lot of superintendents that you see now are former assistants or people that I hired. Last year's AASA president, Christy Wilson now, she was Christy Sandvik when I hired as my special ed director in Hillsborough. She was president of AASA last year. And so I take a lot of pride in seeing, more pride in seeing people who are assistant superintendents go on, if that's the choice that they want, to pursue the superintendency. I'm there for them. I'm all in because I know that if we're going to make this work, public education in this country, we have got to be developing talent and developing future leaders.
Okay, excellent. So what things should the board do to help ensure a positive year for you and the whole district ahead?
Okay, well, class is in session, so no. I genuinely have said, as I got into the superintendency, I was awed and remain awed by the commitment of school board members. You are not paid. The payoff is very small in terms of maybe a chicken dinner here or there. And people really, I don't think they understand the hours that you put into this enterprise. Hats off to you. And I think as part of that what you grow to realize as board members over time is that cohesive boards that function well together as a team, capital T, capital E, capital A, capital M, really can go places with a school district. That is the team that superintendent candidates are attracted to. That is the dynamic that creates really your top-notch districts across the board. So with that, this coming school year is really exciting and really important because it's not that we're getting back to normal, because I don't know that we'll ever get to what we thought was normal again. But it's exciting that we can get back to looking at ways to support our teachers and our staffs in our schools. How do we do that given the new dynamics that have been created? And a school board plays a pivotal role in how the community views what's going on in those schools. We need to support them from sunup to sundown because things have changed and there's a lot of issues that aren't simply put to bed by saying, we're going to go back to normal. It is different. It is really different. And I also say this in terms of, the things that are effective. Relentlessly celebrate students and staff, right? And my goodness, in Sherwood, you have ways to celebrate student success, staff success, left and right. And let's do that. Let's do that this coming year, because it's really important. This is a people business, and people, they need to see the leadership enthusiastic and supportive and ready to go. Yeah, that's it. Oh, the last thing, board operating procedures, right? That's a minutia kind of thing, but in my decade plus of working with school boards, that's something. When you look at board operating procedures at the beginning of the year, craft a document that y'all can work with, and that kind of helps create, it moves you closer to a high performing team.
Fantastic, thank you. So last on our list today is, do you have anything you'd like to add to our discussion or questions for the board?
Well, I had the pleasure, and I viewed it 3 times now, the YouTube video of Sherwood High School. And, I've built some high schools, been part of that process. You guys hit a home run. And that is just an amazing campus. It's the talk of Oregon, really, from whenever I ask about Sherwood, oh, they have the high school. And you did it right. I mean, what a beautiful, beautiful design, and incorporating the landscapes and all of the things that happen there. So really, hats off. That is a landmark achievement to not only pass the bond, make that happen, but to build such a beautiful school. And the way that you involve stakeholders, the parents and the students, was really, really good. Just a wow on that to all of you who were involved, and what an amazing accomplishment. And then I think the last thing I'll just say is that I read something the other day that kind of struck me, and that was a writer was describing themselves as pathologically optimistic. And here I am. I'm pathologically optimistic about our future. I want to get back to working with kids. I want to get back to working with educators and roll up my sleeves and get to work.
Thank you. We really appreciate you making time for us today. I know it was kind of brief, but as I mentioned before to the group and anyone watching live right now, we certainly have a lot of other information that we've already looked, and it's as impressive, as talking to you today. So with that, I thank you so much. We'll go ahead and let you go, and we'll do our thing, and we will be back in touch very soon. So thank you.
All right.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you all. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you.
Okay, everybody just got bigger. Nice. Okay, so with that, what we're going to do is move on to the next portion. We've done the interview, obviously asking some questions and reviewing the materials prior to that. So at this time, we've finished the interview. What I would be looking for is a motion for the next step.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move that the Sherwood School District Board of Directors offer Dr. Jeremy Lyon the position of Interim Superintendent of the Sherwood School District for the 2022-2023 school year.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
And at this point, as part of our process, is there any discussion? So what we're going to do now is we'll do a roll call vote. So I'll call your name and ask you. So the vote is for that action. So if you are in favor, please say aye. We'll start with Krista.
Aye.
Jessica.
Aye.
Abby.
Aye.
Duncan.
Aye.
Okay. And I'm also an aye. So that is motion passes. So 5 in favor of moving on to the next steps. So with that, we will move on to the last portion of our meeting, which is the superintendent negotiation. So upon offering Dr. Lane the interim superintendent position for the year, we'd like to go ahead and do that, extend that contract. And the requested action is to allow the board chair to negotiate that contract on behalf of the board. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that the Sherwood School District Board of Directors designate the board chair to negotiate a one-year contract with Dr. Lyon on behalf of the board.
Is there a second?
I would just like a little clarification on that for the board and the community, that the negotiation will be primarily Chair Hecker, but that vice chair will be involved on the calls and all of that.
She will be on the call, yes.
Okay.
So is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we'll do a roll call vote again. This is for all of those in favor. So Director Thorne,
Aye.
Director Adamson,
Aye.
Director Hawkins,
Aye.
and Director Nyangaro.
All right.
And I'm also in favor, so that's an aye. So that motion carries. So we will go ahead on our next steps in this process, and just want to be really clear on the next steps that this is a next step, and this is not going to be decided finally until June 8th, as I mentioned earlier, and that will be after a period of public comment available. So if anyone has anything they would like to add before we take a final vote next Wednesday, that will occur before the board makes a final decision. So with that, we will adjourn. The next board meeting is next Wednesday, June 8th, 2022, 7 p.m.